Ben Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled out from under the massive power converter in Engineering Bay 7. The Crossroads station was old, nearly 50 years in service, and everything needed constant repairs. As the only human engineer on the station, Ben had grown used to fixing problems that other species couldn't solve. The trading post floated in neutral space between 3 different star systems. Ships from dozens of alien races came here to trade goods and information. Ben liked working here because nobody cared much about his background. He was just the guy who could fix anything that broke. Another successful repair job, Ben said to himself, gathering his tools. The power converter hummed softly now instead of making the terrible grinding noise that had been driving the Zephyrian traders crazy for weeks. Ben had replaced the worn coupling with parts from an old food processor and some metal strips from a broken door frame. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. The comm system crackled to life above his head. "Attention all station personnel," announced Commander Torres, the station's human administrator. "We have incoming diplomatic vessels from the Velfarian Empire. All non-essential personnel should remain in designated areas during their visit." Ben rolled his eyes. Diplomatic visits always meant extra security and lots of rules about where he could and couldn't go. The Velfarians were one of the more important alien races in this part of the galaxy. They looked like large cats that walked upright, with golden fur and bright green eyes. Their empire controlled 15 star systems and they were known for being very formal and traditional. Ben packed up his tools and headed toward the maintenance office. He planned to spend the rest of his shift updating repair logs and maybe grabbing some lunch from the food court. The diplomatic stuff was way above his level of importance on the station. As he walked through the corridor, Ben noticed the usual bustle of activity had changed. Station security officers stood at attention near the main docking bays. Alien traders spoke in hushed tones about the importance of the visiting delegation. Even the normally chatty Rigelian merchants seemed nervous. Ben was halfway to his office when alarms started blaring throughout the station. The lights flickered and then went completely dark for several seconds before emergency power kicked in. Red warning lights bathed everything in an eerie glow. "All engineering personnel report to stations immediately," Torres announced over the comm. "We have multiple system failures across the station." Ben dropped his tool bag and ran toward the nearest engineering panel. The display showed a cascade of problems spreading through the station's systems. Life support was failing in 3 sections. The artificial gravity had shut down in the commercial district. Worse yet, the main power grid was showing dangerous fluctuations that could cause a complete shutdown. "What's happening?" asked Lisa Park, another engineer who arrived at the same time as Ben. "Looks like a solar storm," Ben said, studying the readings. "The magnetic field fluctuations are overloading our older systems. We need to reroute power and isolate the damaged circuits before everything goes dark." More engineering staff arrived, but they all looked overwhelmed by the scope of the problems. The Crossroads station was built with technology from 7 different alien races, all connected together in ways that sometimes made no sense. When everything worked, it was efficient. When things broke, it became a nightmare to fix. "The life support is critical," Torres announced through the comm. "Engineering teams focus on that first." Ben looked at the schematics on his portable scanner. The life support system was connected to the main power grid through a series of backup relays. The solar storm had damaged 3 of the 5 relay stations, leaving the system unstable. "We can't fix this the normal way," Ben told Lisa. "Those relay stations are in sections that lost artificial gravity. It would take hours to get repair crews there safely." "So what do we do?" Lisa asked. Ben studied the station layout for several minutes. The other engineers were following standard procedures, trying to restore the damaged relays one by one. But Ben saw a different solution. "We bypassed the damaged relays entirely," he said. "Look, the food court has its own independent power system for the cooking equipment. If we run temporary power cables from there to the life support processors, we can keep air flowing while we fix the main grid." Lisa stared at him. That's not in any manual I've read. Manuals are written by people who assume everything works perfectly, Ben replied. When things break, you have to get creative. Ben grabbed a cart full of emergency equipment and headed toward the food court. The area was in chaos, with alien vendors trying to secure their goods in the low gravity. Floating containers of exotic foods drifted through the air while frustrated traders chased after them. "Excuse me," Ben called to Grix, the Antarian who ran the noodle stand. "I need to borrow your power coupling for a few hours." "My power coupling?" Grix's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. "But how will I cook?" "Right now, nobody can breathe if I don't fix the life support," Ben explained. "I promise I'll get your power back as soon as possible." Ben worked quickly, connecting portable cables from the food court's power grid to the emergency access points for the life support system. It wasn't elegant, but within 30 minutes, air was flowing normally throughout the station again. The artificial gravity came back online shortly after that. By the time Ben had restored main power to most of the station, a small crowd had gathered to watch him work. Word had spread that the human engineer was fixing problems faster than entire teams of other engineers. "Impressive work," said a voice behind him. Ben turned around and found himself face to face with the most beautiful alien he had ever seen. She was tall and graceful, with golden fur that seemed to shimmer in the light. Her green eyes were intelligent and curious. She wore elegant robes that marked her as someone very important. "Thank you," Ben said, suddenly aware that he was covered in grease and probably smelled like engine coolant. "I'm sorry, but I should get back to work." "Please, continue," the alien said. "I am Princess Zara of the Veltharian Empire. I have been watching your repair methods with great interest." Ben nearly dropped his scanner. A princess was talking to him. Not just any princess, but royalty from one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. "Your Highness," Ben said, trying to remember if humans were supposed to bow or something. "I'm Ben Miller. Just an engineer." "Just an engineer." Princess Zara smiled, showing sharp white teeth. "You have solved problems that others considered impossible. You used resources in ways that no Veltharian would have considered. This is remarkable." Ben finished connecting the last power cable and ran a diagnostic check. All systems showed green. The crisis was over. "It's just improvisation," Ben explained. "When you don't have the right parts, you make do with what you have." "Exactly," Princess Zara said, her eyes brightening. "This ability to adapt and create solutions from limited resources is something I have been studying about humans. Your species approaches problems differently than any other race in the galaxy." Ben started packing up his equipment. He was flattered by the princess's attention, but he had no idea why someone so important would be interested in his work. "Princess Zara," called another voice from across the corridor. A younger Veltharian approached them, also wearing royal robes but in different colors. She looked similar to the first princess but had silver fur instead of gold. "Sister," Princess Zara said with a slight edge to her voice. "I thought you were attending the diplomatic meetings." "I heard about the engineering crisis and wanted to see how it was resolved," the second princess said. She looked directly at Ben. "You must be the human who restored the station's systems." "This is my sister, Princess Mira," Zara explained to Ben. "Mira, this is Ben Miller, the engineer I mentioned in my reports." Princess Mira extended her hand in the human style of greeting. "I have read your reports about human problem-solving methods. Seeing the results in person is even more impressive." Ben shook her hand, feeling more confused by the minute. "You write reports about human engineering?" "Among other things," Princess Zara said. "The Veltharian Empire has been studying human culture as part of our diplomatic expansion efforts. Your species has many unique qualities that could be valuable to interstellar cooperation. What my sister means," Princess Mira added with a sly smile, "is that humans are fascinating. Your ability to think outside traditional boundaries is something our species admires greatly." Ben felt like he was missing something important in this conversation. The two princesses kept exchanging glances that seemed loaded with meaning he couldn't understand. Ben Miller, Princess Zara said formally, I would like to make an official declaration. The princess's tone had changed completely. She stood straighter and spoke in the careful manner that Ben associated with important announcements. After observing your skills and studying human capabilities, I believe you would make an excellent addition to the Veltharian Empire. According to ancient law, royal family members may choose mates who demonstrate exceptional abilities that would benefit our people. Ben's scanner slipped from his hands and clattered to the floor. I'm sorry, what? I am declaring my intention to court you for marriage, Princess Zara announced. Your innovative thinking and adaptability would bring valuable diversity to our bloodline and our empire's leadership. Wait just a minute, Princess Mira interrupted. Sister, you cannot make such a declaration without consulting the family council first. The law is clear, Zara replied. I have the right to choose my own mate based on demonstrated merit. Yes, but so do I, Mira said firmly. And I also wish to court Ben Miller for marriage. Ben looked back and forth between the two princesses, unable to believe what he was hearing. Hold on. Both of you want to marry me? We just met 5 minutes ago. We have been studying you for several months, Princess Zara explained. Your work reports and personnel files were included in our cultural research database. Our intelligence services are very thorough, Princess Mira added. We know about your engineering innovations, your problem-solving approach, and your personal character. You represent the best qualities of human ingenuity. This is insane, Ben said. I fix machines for a living. I'm not marriage material for alien royalty. That attitude is exactly why you are perfect, Princess Mira said. You have no interest in political power or social status. Your motivations are pure. Sister, I made my declaration first, Princess Zara said coldly. According to tradition, that gives me priority in courtship rights. Tradition also says that any royal family member may challenge such a declaration if they believe they have equal merit, Princess Mira replied. I hereby formally challenge your claim. The two sisters faced each other with expressions that Ben could only describe as dangerous. Their diplomatic politeness was rapidly disappearing. Ladies, Ben said, stepping between them. Maybe we should slow down here. This is all happening very fast. The Veltharian Empire does not slow down when matters of succession are involved, Princess Zara said. My marriage choice will affect the future of our people. Our marriage choice, Princess Mira corrected. The High Council will have to decide how to resolve this situation. Ben realized that his simple repair job had somehow triggered an interstellar diplomatic incident. Two alien princesses were arguing over marrying him, and apparently their decision would impact the politics of an entire empire. What happens now? Ben asked weakly. Now we contact the High Council and request an emergency session, Princess Zara said. They will determine the proper process for resolving competing marriage declarations. This should be interesting, Princess Mira said with a smile that didn't look entirely friendly. The council has never dealt with two sisters choosing the same human before. As the two princesses walked away to make their communications, Ben stood alone in the corridor, surrounded by his repair equipment and trying to understand how his life had just become incredibly complicated. The station's intercom crackled again. Engineer Miller, please report to Commander Torres's office immediately, came the announcement. Ben sighed and picked up his scattered tools. Apparently, his day was far from over. Ben walked slowly toward Commander Torres's office, his mind still spinning from the conversation with the two Veltharian princesses. The corridor seemed longer than usual, and every alien he passed stared at him with curious expressions. Word traveled fast on Crossroad Station. Commander Torres was waiting for him with a cup of coffee and a worried expression. Maria Torres had been running the station for 8 years and had seen her share of diplomatic problems, but nothing quite like this. Sit down, Ben, she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. We need to talk about what just happened in the engineering section. You heard about that already? Ben asked. The Veltharian delegation contacted me 10 minutes ago, Torres replied. Apparently, both Princess Zara and Princess Mira have made formal declarations of courtship toward you. This is now an official diplomatic matter. Ben slumped in his chair. Commander, I was just fixing the life support system. I had no idea this would happen. I know you didn't, Torres said kindly. But we're dealing with it now. The Veltharian High Council is sending additional representatives to oversee what they're calling the resolution process. Both princesses have the legal right to compete for your affections. What does that mean exactly? Torres pulled up a file on her computer screen. According to Veltharian law, when multiple royal family members declare interest in the same potential mate, they must engage in a formal courtship competition. You have the right to observe and evaluate both suitors before making your choice. And if I don't want to choose either of them? That would create a major diplomatic incident, Torres said carefully. The Veltharian Empire is one of our most important trading partners. Rejecting both princesses could be seen as an insult to their entire royal family. Ben rubbed his temples. So I'm stuck in the middle of alien politics because I know how to fix machines. It's more than that, Torres said. I've been reading the cultural reports that Princess Zara mentioned. The Veltharians have been studying human behavior for months. They're particularly interested in our problem-solving abilities and emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence? The ability to understand and work with different types of people, Torres explained. Most alien species have very rigid social structures. Humans are unusually adaptable in how we form relationships and solve conflicts. Before Ben could respond, his communicator beeped. The message was from Princess Zara, requesting his presence in the VIP diplomatic quarters within the hour. Looks like the competition is starting, Torres said. Ben, I need you to be careful here. Everything you do and say will be watched and analyzed. Try to be respectful to both princesses, but don't make any promises you can't keep. Ben left the commander's office feeling like he was walking into a trap. The VIP quarters were in the most elegant section of the station, with artificial windows showing beautiful star fields and decorated with artwork from dozens of different worlds. Princess Zara greeted him in a spacious room filled with expensive furniture and exotic plants. She had changed from her formal robes into something that looked more casual but still incredibly elegant. Her golden fur was perfectly groomed and she moved with the grace of someone born to royalty. Ben, thank you for accepting my invitation, she said, gesturing for him to sit on a comfortable couch. I wanted to speak with you privately about our situation. Princess, I have to be honest, Ben said. This is all very overwhelming. Yesterday I was just an engineer, and today 2 alien princesses want to marry me. Please, call me Zara when we are alone, she said with a warm smile. And I understand your confusion. Let me explain why you are so important to my people. Zara activated a holographic display that showed images of the Veltharian Empire. Ben saw beautiful cities with crystalline towers, vast forests filled with exotic wildlife, and spaceships that looked like works of art. The Veltharian Empire has been successful for thousands of years because we value tradition and order, Zara explained. Our society is based on careful planning and following established procedures. This has given us stability and prosperity. That sounds good, Ben said. It is good, but it also has limitations, Zara continued. When we encounter unexpected problems, our people sometimes struggle to find solutions. We rely too heavily on doing things the way they have always been done. The holographic display changed to show engineering schematics and technical reports. Ben recognized some of them as his own work reports from the station's database. Your approach to problem-solving represents something we lack, Zara said. You see resources and possibilities where others see only obstacles. This skill would be invaluable to our empire's continued growth. So you want to marry me for my engineering abilities? Not just that, Zara said, moving closer to him on the couch. I have studied human culture extensively. Your species has a remarkable ability to form emotional bonds across different groups. You create loyalty and cooperation in ways that our rigid hierarchy cannot achieve. Ben found himself looking into Zara's green eyes and feeling genuinely attracted to her intelligence and passion. She wasn't just beautiful, she was clearly brilliant and dedicated to her people. What would marriage to you actually involve? Ben asked. You would become a prince consort of the Velfarian Empire, Zara explained. Your insights would help guide our technological development and diplomatic relationships. You would live in luxury and have influence over policies that affect millions of lives. Before Ben could respond, there was a soft chime at the door. Princess Mira entered without waiting for permission, carrying a toolkit and wearing simple work clothes instead of royal robes. Sister, I hope you don't mind if I interrupt, Mira said with a polite smile that had sharp edges. I wanted to invite Ben to see my research project. We were in the middle of an important conversation, Zara said coolly. I'm sure you were, Mira replied. But I think Ben might be interested in seeing some practical applications of human engineering principles. Ben looked back and forth between the sisters, sensing the tension between them. What kind of research project? I've been working with the station's maintenance team to improve their repair protocols, Mira said. Using methods inspired by human improvisation techniques. You've been working with the maintenance team? Ben asked, surprised. For the past 3 days, Mira said proudly. I wanted to understand how humans actually approach problems, not just read reports about it. Zara's expression darkened. Sister, that is highly inappropriate for someone of your rank. Is it? Mira asked. Ben works with his hands every day. If I'm going to understand what makes him special, shouldn't I experience that work myself? Ben felt intrigued despite the awkward situation. Show me what you've been doing. Mira led them to a smaller workshop area where several maintenance workers were gathered around a dismantled communications array. Ben recognized the equipment as one of the older units that frequently broke down. We've been trying to solve the reliability problems with these communicators, Mira explained. Using your repair philosophy of adapting available materials rather than waiting for exact replacement parts. Ben examined their work and was impressed. The maintenance team had created a hybrid system using components from 3 different manufacturers. It wasn't pretty, but it was cleverly designed. This is really good work, Ben said honestly. Who came up with the idea to use the signal amplifier from the emergency system? That was Princess Myra's suggestion, said Gary Webb, one of the human maintenance workers. She's been right here with us, learning how everything works. Got her hands dirty and everything. Ben looked at Mira with new respect. Her silver fur had grease stains on it, and her claws showed signs of recent manual work. She had clearly spent real time learning the practical side of engineering. I wanted to understand your world, Mira said simply. Not just study it from a distance. Very commendable, Zara said in a tone that suggested she didn't think it was commendable at all. However, there are more important considerations than getting one's hands dirty. Such as? Mira asked. Political realities, Zara replied. Marriage into the royal family affects the entire empire. Ben would need to understand the complexities of interstellar diplomacy, economic policy, and military strategy. And I would need to understand the complexities of actually making things work, Mira countered. All the policy in the galaxy doesn't matter if our equipment fails when we need it. Ben found himself caught between 2 very different visions of his potential future. Zara offered him power and influence on a galactic scale. Mira offered him partnership in the kind of hands-on work he genuinely loved. Over the next few days, both princesses continued their courtship with increasingly elaborate gestures. Zara arranged for Ben to meet with important diplomats and military leaders, showing him the scope of the Velfarian Empire's influence. She shared detailed plans for technological advancement and economic expansion that could benefit billions of people. Mira took a completely different approach. She continued working alongside Ben and the maintenance teams, learning every aspect of the station's operations. She proved surprisingly good at troubleshooting and seemed to genuinely enjoy the challenge of solving practical problems. The rest of the station watched this unusual courtship competition with fascination. Alien traders placed bets on which princess Ben would choose. The Rig alien merchants started a betting pool that quickly grew to involve half the station's population. "This is the most entertainment we've had in years," commented Vex, a blue-skinned Andorian trader. Two royal princesses competing for a human engineer. The romance stories practically write themselves. Ben tried to focus on his regular duties, but everywhere he went, someone wanted to discuss the situation. The attention was becoming overwhelming. Things became more complicated when other members of the Veltharian delegation arrived. Elder Council members observed every interaction between Ben and the princesses, taking detailed notes and whispering among themselves. "The political implications are significant," Ben overheard one council member saying. "Whichever princess he chooses will gain considerable influence in succession decisions. And whichever one he rejects will lose face throughout the empire," replied another. Ben realized that his choice would affect much more than just his own life. The balance of power within the Veltharian royal family could shift based on his decision. Commander Torres called him in for another meeting at the end of the week. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I'm not sure," Ben admitted. "Both princesses are amazing in their own ways. Zara is brilliant and has these incredible plans for the future. Mira is down to earth and really understands the work I love. But I'm starting to think this isn't really about me at all," Ben said. "There's some kind of political game happening here that I don't understand." Torres nodded grimly. "I've been getting reports from our intelligence contacts. There are rumors that other members of the royal family aren't happy about either princess choosing a human mate." "What kind of rumors?" "The kind that suggests someone might try to sabotage this whole process," Torres said. "Ben, I want you to be extra careful. Royal succession politics can get dangerous very quickly." As if to prove her point, Ben's communicator chimed with an urgent message from Princess Zara. There had been an accident in the diplomatic quarters, and both princesses were requesting his immediate assistance. Ben hurried toward the VIP section, wondering what new complication was about to turn his life upside down. Ben rushed through the corridors toward the VIP diplomatic quarters, his heart pounding with worry. The emergency message from Princess Zara had been brief but urgent. Something about an accident and both sisters needing his help immediately. When he arrived at the diplomatic section, Ben found chaos. Station security officers were sealing off one of the main conference rooms. Emergency repair crews were working on damaged wall panels that looked like they had been hit by some kind of energy weapon. "Ben, thank goodness you're here," Princess Zara called out as she approached him. Her usually perfect appearance was disheveled, and her royal robes had scorch marks on them. "What happened?" Ben asked, looking around at the destruction. "Someone tried to sabotage the courtship proceedings," Princess Mira said, joining them from across the hallway. She also looked shaken, with dirt smudges on her silver fur. "Sabotage?" Ben repeated. "Who would do that?" "We believe it was meant to look like an accident," Zara explained. "The environmental controls in the conference room were modified to create a toxic gas leak during our scheduled meeting with the High Council representatives. If Mira hadn't noticed the unusual smell and evacuated everyone immediately, the entire delegation could have been seriously injured," Zara added, looking at her sister with newfound respect. Ben examined the damaged wall panels and recognized the signs of a hastily modified ventilation system. Someone had rerouted the atmospheric processors to introduce harmful chemicals into the air supply. "This wasn't random," Ben said after studying the modifications. "Whoever did this knew exactly how the station's environmental systems work. They also knew the scheduled meeting time and location. That means the saboteur is someone with inside information," Mira concluded. Before anyone could respond, Lord Keth, an older Veltharian with dark gray fur and cold yellow eyes, approached their group. He was Princess Zara and Myra's uncle and one of the most senior members of the High Council. "Nieces, I am relieved to see you are both unharmed," he said with what seemed like genuine concern. "This incident is most disturbing. Perhaps we should postpone the courtship proceedings until proper security can be established." "Uncle Keth," Zara said carefully, "the proceedings are too important to delay. The succession implications affect the entire empire." "Precisely why we should be cautious," Lord Keth replied. "This human's presence has clearly attracted dangerous attention. For the safety of the royal family, it might be better to end this courtship competition entirely." Ben watched the conversation and noticed something odd about Lord Keth's behavior. The older Veltharian seemed nervous, and his eyes kept darting toward the damaged conference room as if he was checking to see how thorough the destruction had been. "Lord Keth," Ben said suddenly, "you mentioned that someone with inside knowledge must have done this. Who had access to the meeting schedules and station schematics?" "The station's administrative staff, security personnel, and of course the diplomatic delegation," Lord Keth answered quickly. "The list is quite extensive. But not everyone on that list would know how to modify Veltharian environmental controls," Ben pointed out. "The sabotage used Veltharian technology, not station equipment." Lord Keth's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that whoever did this had technical knowledge of both station systems and Veltharian equipment," Ben said. "That's a pretty small group of people." Princess Mira caught on immediately. "Uncle, you oversaw the installation of our delegation's environmental systems when we arrived." "I supervised the security arrangements, yes," Lord Keth said defensively. "That doesn't mean I would sabotage my own family." Ben studied the damaged components more carefully. Something about the modification pattern looked familiar. He had seen similar work before, but not on Crossroads Station. "Princess Zara, you said your people have been studying human engineering methods," Ben said. "Have any Veltharians tried to actually implement those methods in their own work?" "A few council members have experimented with adaptive repair techniques," Zara replied. "Why do you ask?" Ben pointed to a specific connection in the damaged ventilation system. "This modification was done using human-style improvisation. See how the connector was jury-rigged using parts from two different systems? That's exactly the kind of creative problem-solving that humans are known for." "You think a human did this?" Mira asked. "No," Ben said, looking directly at Lord Keth. "I think someone who has been studying human methods did this. Someone who wanted to make it look like sabotage while actually ensuring that nobody would be seriously hurt." Lord Keth's composure finally cracked. "That's a serious accusation to make without proof." "The proof is in the execution," Ben explained. "A real saboteur would have used more effective methods. This looks dangerous but was actually designed to fail safely. Someone wanted to create a crisis without causing actual harm." Princess Zara's eyes widened as she understood the implications. "Uncle, you created this incident to disrupt the courtship proceedings." "I acted to protect the empire," Lord Keth said stiffly. "This competition between my nieces is tearing apart the royal family. If both sisters are eliminated from succession consideration for choosing an inappropriate mate, the throne would pass to the next eligible heir." "Which would be you," Mira said coldly. "I have served the empire faithfully for 50 years, Lord Keth replied. "I would provide stable leadership instead of this chaos." Ben felt a surge of anger at being manipulated, but he also recognized an opportunity. "Lord Keth, you're right about one thing. This competition is causing problems for your family." Both princesses looked at Ben with surprise and concern. "But you're wrong about the solution," Ben continued. "The problem isn't that both sisters chose the same human. The problem is that you're all thinking about this in terms of traditional marriage politics." "What do you mean?" Zara asked. Ben took a deep breath, knowing that what he was about to propose would either solve everything or make it much worse. "What if I don't marry either of you?" he said. The silence that followed was deafening. Lord Keth looked pleased, while both princesses appeared shocked and hurt. Before you get angry, Ben said quickly, hear me out. Both of you have spent time studying human culture, but you've missed something important about how humans actually form relationships and alliances. Which is? Mira asked in a tight voice. We don't always approach partnership as an all-or-nothing proposition, Ben explained. Sometimes the strongest bonds are built on mutual respect and shared goals rather than traditional romantic relationships. Ben gestured toward the damaged conference room. Look at what just happened here. Zara, your political knowledge identified the threat. Mira, your practical experience prevented serious injuries. You worked together to protect everyone, including me. Your point? Zara asked. My point is that you're both incredible people who complement each other perfectly, Ben said. Instead of competing over marrying one human, why not work together to build something bigger? Such as? Lord Keth asked skeptically. A formal alliance between humanity and the Veltharian Empire, Ben proposed. Not through marriage, but through cultural and technological cooperation. I could serve as an official ambassador, helping to share human problem-solving methods with your people while learning from your expertise. Princess Mira was the first to understand. You're suggesting a partnership instead of a courtship. Exactly, Ben said. Both of you have shown that you value human approaches to engineering and diplomacy. Instead of one of you gaining access to that knowledge through marriage, all of your people could benefit through structured cooperation. The High Council would never approve such an unconventional arrangement, Lord Keth protested. Actually, they might, Princess Zara said thoughtfully. The Empire has been looking for ways to improve our technological adaptability. A formal cultural exchange program could provide significant benefits. And it would solve the succession problem, Ben added. Both princesses would remain eligible heirs while still gaining the human perspectives they've been studying. But what about the courtship declarations? Mira asked. We can't simply withdraw them without losing face. Ben smiled. That's where human diplomatic creativity comes in. You don't withdraw the declarations. You modify them. How? Instead of declaring marriage intentions, you declare your intention to form a strategic alliance with humanity through me as a representative, Ben explained. The High Council gets to see human problem-solving in action by how we resolve this crisis. Lord Keth looked uncomfortable with how quickly his sabotage plan was falling apart. The Council expects a traditional resolution to this situation. Uncle, Princess Zara said firmly, you forfeited your right to influence this decision when you tried to manipulate it through sabotage. Besides, Princess Mira added, Ben's proposal demonstrates exactly the kind of innovative thinking that made us interested in humans in the first place. Ben felt a wave of relief as both princesses seemed to embrace his alternative solution. There's one more advantage to this approach. If the cultural exchange program is successful, it could be expanded to include other species throughout the galaxy. A human-led diplomatic initiative, Zara mused. That could position the Veltharian Empire as leaders in interstellar cooperation. And give us access to human adaptability without the complications of royal marriage politics, Mira agreed. Lord Keth realized that his plan had not only failed but had actually strengthened his niece's position. The High Council will want to review any formal alliance proposal thoroughly. Of course, Ben said. But they'll be reviewing a proposal that came from collaborative problem-solving between humans and Veltharians. That's exactly the kind of partnership we're suggesting. Commander Torres arrived with additional security personnel as word of the incident spread throughout the station. Is everyone all right? She asked, surveying the damage. Better than all right, Ben replied. I think we've found a solution that works for everyone. Over the next few hours, Ben worked with both princesses to draft a formal proposal for a human Veltharian cultural alliance. The document outlined technological cooperation, diplomatic training exchanges, and joint research projects that could benefit both species. The High Council representatives were initially skeptical, but they were impressed by how quickly and creatively the crisis had been resolved. Lord Keth's sabotage attempt was quietly dealt with through internal Veltharian justice, and he was reassigned to a position with less political influence. "I have to admit," Princess Zara said as they finalized the alliance proposal, "this solution is much more elegant than a simple marriage arrangement. And more practical," Princess Mira added. "We both get to work with Ben on an ongoing basis instead of one of us winning and the other losing." Ben felt genuinely happy with the outcome. He had avoided an impossible choice between two remarkable women while creating something that could benefit millions of people across multiple star systems. "There's just one thing," Ben said as they prepared to present the proposal to the full High Council. "What's that?" both princesses asked. "Next time you want to study human culture," Ben said with a grin, "maybe start with dinner and conversation instead of marriage declarations." Both princesses laughed, and Ben realized that he had gained something more valuable than a royal marriage. He had gained two friends who understood and appreciated what made humans special in the galaxy. The Human-Veltharian Cultural Alliance was approved unanimously by the High Council, marking the beginning of a new era of cooperation that would eventually expand to include dozens of other species. And it all started because one human engineer knew how to fix problems by thinking outside the box.